Hi everyone, welcome to lecture 6A on personality factors and stress. So what we're going to be looking at is our examination focused key questions that have been asked over a number of years, so since 2009, on personality and stress. Okay, so last lecture, in lecture 6, we looked at the three types of personality that we can have: type A, type B, and a hardy personality. Please do look at lecture 6 again to look at the examples that are used of the different types of personalities that we can have and why psychologists study it in the first place. We also looked at the two key studies that I'm going to be focusing on: Friedman and Rosenman and Cabasa. Okay, so again, look back on that. So our first question, Roy and Mick. Again, it's an application question. So it's only a 2-mark question, so you don't really need to apply it at all for this question. So one word for each would be sufficient. So Roy and Mick are members of a football team. Both play to the same high standard. Roy never minds if the team does not win. So already I'll highlight that. I'm thinking, why doesn't Roy mind? Roy must have some type of type B personality because he's not really bothered. He just enjoys playing with his teammates and spending time with them after the match. So already I've already highlighted, Roy's type B. Mick always wants to win and gets angry if the team loses. So already I know that type A personality, these people already easily get angry and quite hostile and quite competitive because he always wants to win. So which personality type is each person likely to have? So I would say Roy will have type B and Mick would have type A. So just one word: type A, um, type A and then type B. Make sure you just do one word for each. So that's for 2 marks. Now, explain whether Roy, so when you're explaining, you kind of like now need to start applying things. So whether Roy or Mick is more likely to suffer from a stress-related illness. Use research in your explanation. So what researchers do we have? We have either Friedman and Rosenman, or we have Cabasa. Whichever one will be fine. So first of all, you explain that, for example, Mick is more likely to suffer from a stress-related illness because he is consistently angry and is quite competitive, which are the key attributes to a type A personality, and he's more likely to have heart problems. Just like Friedman and Rosenman found that those who were type A personality were most likely to have coronary heart disease, heart attacks, those kind of stuff. So for 4 marks, make sure you explain about the whole mixed situation and back it up with some kind of research. A researcher used a questionnaire and an in-depth interview to assess Georgia's personality. After completing the questionnaire, Georgia was found to be type A. However, after the in-depth interview, she was found to be type B. Explain why these methods might produce some such different results. So after in-depth, she was actually found to be type B. So for example, a questionnaire, so these kind of stuff is a research methods question, which means that you need knowledge of your research methods. It's only 4 marks. So explain. So by using a questionnaire, for example, people can easily lie, or they may not have the chance to explain what they really mean about certain types of information. Whereas when you use an in-depth interview, if they don't understand the question, people can ask, sorry, can you explain that again? What do you mean by that? Hence why we can have different results using 2 different types of methods. Mark is very competitive and he hates losing any game he plays. Already, as soon as I see competitive, I'm thinking, oh, he's more likely to be a type A person. At work, he's often impatient, again, a type A attribute, and likes working to tight deadlines. He can become quite hostile when challenged. What personality type is Mike likely to have? Obviously, 1 mark, just put type A in, out, don't stress about that. Using your knowledge of how personality factors can affect the body's response to stress, explain how Mark might respond to the effects of stress. So here you can talk about Friedman and Rosenman, how they found that those people who were type A personalities, they were more likely to be suffering heart issues and heart problems. Okay, so the question is using our knowledge of how personality can affect the body's response. So Mark, for example, because he's constantly having stress hormones in his system, which apparently might affect the functioning of the immune system. Therefore, he's going to be more susceptible to illness. Okay, so how affect the body's response. So it's using knowledge of how personality factors, so type A, because of Mark, can affect the body's response to stress. So a lot more adrenaline, a lot more hormones, of course, still going through the system. Explain how Mark might respond to the effects of stress. Okay, so he's going to be affected to effects of stress by being really impatient and those kind of stuff. So kind of like use one of the researchers here to back up your particular answer. Harry, they love using names for these type of questions. So Harry always meets deadlines. Okay. So far sounds like type A to me. He hates being late and always likes to keep himself busy with plenty to do. Sounds like a type A personality trait. So already I'll probably be annotating type A personality. Alex does not mind being late for anything, and although he tries to meet deadlines, he's not worried if he misses some of them. So Alex to me sounds like a type B personality. Is Harry or Alex more likely to have type A personality? So I'll say that's Harry there. And so that'd be 1 mark for that particular question. Explain why having type A personality makes him more likely to suffer the negative effects of stress for 3 marks. So you can say constantly he has stress hormones going through his system, and those stress hormones have an effect on our white blood cells, which make up our immune system, making Harry more susceptible to stress. Full stop. That's your 3 marks then and there. Outline one way in which psychologists measure type A personality. So state the way. So this can either be, oh gosh, sorry, this can either be through questionnaires. That's one way, and explain. For example, they might give them. I just explain. So they might give them scenarios, and they have to tick which one they're most likely to do. Or they can use in-depth interviews. For example, somebody trying to um, determine what type of personality they have. So you state it and explain whichever one you do, that's absolutely fine. Describe personality factors that have been shown to influence the way people respond to stress. So here you can talk about type A and what type A is, and you can talk about Friedman and Roseman in terms of what they found in terms of type A people having more issues with their hearts. Okay, so use research for that particular question. Outline what is meant by type A behavior. So obviously you talk about always being quite impatient, being quite time urgent, being quite hostile, that kind of stuff. So it's only for 2 marks, so don't go to town on that one. Outline a method used by psychologists to assess whether someone shows type A behavior. Again, a bit like the last one, you state the method and explain. So that can either be questionnaires or in-depth um, interviews. Now, this question has never been up. I've trailed through all the past examination questions, so it could be a possibility. I'm not saying it is, but it could be one. But what I'm going to be doing in lecture 6B, I'm actually going to show you a sample essay that I've written worth 12 marks. So be outline and evaluate research into personality factors and stress-related illnesses. Remember, I'm going to be writing it with just my 2 researches. That's all I'm going to need. Okay, so I'll see you next lecture.